makes me it draws the question to mind, what is the point of hell? um because from my perspective of what I believe that the purpose of hell, well, hell was created for the devil and his demons. That's what hell was created for. But why do people go to hell? People go to hell because they don't believe on Christ. People go to hell because they made a conscious decision to reject the sacrifice of God that he laid down for you. You know, you earn sin. Um, oh dear, I know these verses. Um, that for the wages of sin is death. Okay, Romans 6:23. And so a wage is something that you earn. And um, so for the wages of sin is death. And so because you sin, what you deserve in exchange for that is hell, right? From my perspective, okay? Not Calvinist, but this is from what I've gathered, okay? So the reason why you go to hell is because you've sinned, you've racked up a sin debt, and you go to hell to pay for your sin, to pay for your debt. And that's why people go to hell, because they have an unpaid balance of sin that needs to be paid for. And because they did not accept the payment that Christ made for their sin, they have to go to hell for all eternity and pay for their own sins. And that's where Calvinists get into double jeopardy. But yeah, so that's why hell exists. That's why people go to hell. But if you're a Calvinist, then why do people go to hell then? Because under that worldview, you didn't choose to sin, and you didn't choose to not receive Christ. So why would you go to hell? What's the point of that? What is the purpose? What is the lesson that is teaching you? Because I believe that when people go to hell, because they're conscious. Now, this is kind of semantics, because people who are in hell are always considered dead, but they're still conscious in the fact that they still have like memories, and they can still talk and feel things. So like they're conscious, but they're not alive. So yeah. And yeah. And so when I believe that when people go to hell, they think about, times that a person might have come to their door and they rejected them, a time when they went to church and didn't listen, a time that they heard something, and they just refused. I believe that those things come to their mind when they're in hell, and they regret it, and they spend the rest of eternity playing back times where soul winners or Christians talked to them, or opportunities that they had to get saved that they squandered. I think that they think about that. I'm not teaching that. I'm just theorizing with you. It's late. We're after hours. We're just chatting right now, okay? So that's what I think probably happens. And so as a person, who's in hell, you're thinking, okay, like, I messed up. I shouldn't have done that. I should have believed. But if you're a Calvinist, then what is the point of God sending people to hell? Because originally they didn't have the choice to sin. They had to sin because they have a sin nature. They agree on that. They agree with the sin nature. That's what we talked about in the first point of total depravity. They're totally depraved. They can't choose to not sin. They have no control. So they have to sin. Okay. And then they didn't have a way of getting free from that sin, of paying that sin debt. They just had to sin, and then they have to end up in hell. So they're probably just down there like, what am I here for? What was the point of all that? Well, that was just an exercise in futility. You created me just to send me here? Like, what? What was the point? Really, what was the point of that? You just set them up. And some people's lives are so short, and then they still go to hell. A person who's like 19 or 20, they don't even get to live the full human experience. And they end up in hell. And it's like, what was the point? You brought me up here, you created me just to exist for 19 years, just to go to high school? Like, what? Like, why would you even bother? It's just, it doesn't make any sense. Like the whole concept of hell falls apart in the Calvinist worldview, because you're not going there to pay for your sins, because you didn't have control over making those sins anyway. And then it's not punishment because you didn't have the option to not get punished. Like, yeah, it makes no sense. Because hell is supposed to be punishment. It's punishment for not believing on Christ. If you never had the option, if you never had the choice to believe on Christ, then there should be no punishment because it was outside of your control. So what is the point of hell? I got to talk to one of these people in real life because it's crazy. But put a one in the chat if you want to